Why, hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Anime Club. I'm Nick Knack. With me is the great Lord Vorn.
I went outside yesterday to do a grocery run. Lots of stupid shitheads out there.
Congratulations, I've been going outside like every 3 or 4 days to do grocery runs.
I'm doing
Not
grocery runs
being
every
an
2 weeks now.
argumentative, not being argumentative and interrupting the issue. Realm Shifter.
I am thou. Thou
Well,
art
just because he's a
I.
pussy.
You know, I'm having a moment here. Seki. That's your introduction. Move along, Knick-Knack.
Yeah, that's all we were going to give her. All right, this week we watched Naruto.
Naruto!
Obviously, there's going to be some bias here, but...
And you're not going to be biased for our next recording?
Shut up, Seki.
Pot, meat, kettle.
We all have our biases here, but we all get along.
You say that, but some days...
You can go back into our backlog and you'll see a lot of us ready to kill each other over T.H.E.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Or Amagami, or Data Live, or Snafu, or Fate Set 1.
I wanted to kill myself over Data Live for suggesting it.
Okay, but for
That's your own
SS,
fault.
Yeah.
we all were generally in agreement there.
Absolutely.
God.
We all were.
And this is the reason why I don't pull something random from my list that I never see.
All right, so do we want to give our quick spoiler-free thoughts?
Yes. I love Naruto.
I think
Naruto is one of my favorite animes in the world. It is one of the animes that I grew up on. And despite the fact that there are several characters that I find generally distasteful, especially in the first season, it is still right up there with Fairy Tail and One Piece as some of my favorite animes ever.
That's about how I felt, honestly.
Wow.
Yeah, with how much I've seen so far, which is only the episodes that we were required to watch, I have to say, bland. There's nothing that really excited me.
I have a metal rod to beat you guys with.
Through the computer.
Keep that in mind.
Do it, you won't. I'm willing to
Keep it
trust
in
you on
mind.
that. You interrupted my moment, so I'm going to spoil your groove.
My groove can never be spoiled. Datebayo!
Well, my thoughts were a little bit more in line with Vorn's. It was okay. I think I liked it more than I liked Fairy Tail, and it was a watch. It's not necessarily one that stuck out too much to me. I don't know if I'd ever go back and watch it outside of this.
But let's compare it to Katekyo.
Okay, Katekyo's bad. There's a difference here. There's meh, and then there's ugh.
So what I'm hearing is you like Naruto.
More than I like Katekyo.
This is comparison. It's not a full overall.
Shut up, Born.
Hey, let's see here. Let me add some more fuel to this fire. So you can cover a shit in gold, but a shit is still a shit. Doesn't matter if it's got gold on it or not. So
I wouldn't call Naruto a shit though.
I know. I'm just adding more fuel to the fire.
There's nothing you can do to bring my mood down. I love this show.
If Fairy Tail were the McDonald's burger, Naruto is the McDonald's French fries. They're better fries, but they're still really good, and you still go to them because you still think occasionally, yeah, it could be good.
I actually don't like McDonald's fries that much anymore.
You heathen!
I don't like McDonald's fries either.
You're all fired.
They're often
McDonald's
soggy.
Challenges.
No, they're just often soggy and undersalted.
I don't know if it's just me though, but I find that more so they're just too dry for me.
See, I'm spoiled. I exclusively like restaurant French fries.
Welcome back
And
to
Five
the
Guys.
French Fry Podcast. I'm Nick Knack. With me is the great Lord Vorn, Realm Shifter, and Biatch.
On the other hand, in terms of chicken nuggets, of the 3 places we've gone, McDonald's any day.
Yeah, those were definitely the easiest ones to
And
do.
I will never
Yeah.
go to Wingstop again.
Burger King
Those-
started
Oh, I
making
lo-
me
oh, I
feel
love
really sick.
Wingstop,
McDonald's just started tasting
Oh,
like
no.
cardboard quicker.
I will never go to a Wingstop again.
Wingstop is
for
too
life.
salty.
Yeah.
That was just the wings we bought because someone had the great idea to buy super like
See,
by
but
vinegar
that wasn't
wings.
my idea. I wanted to
Oh.
just go all original. No
That was-
hot and no buffalo.
Oh, the buffalo was my idea, and I won because just of my sheer proxy.
You
because-
did not win.
Oh, I didn't win by numbers. I won because I was the one who was willing to brave the buffalo.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed our spoiler-free review of McDonald's, Burger King, Wingstop,
And
and
Wingstop.
Naruto.
When did Burger King get mentioned up into this?
I mentioned it a second ago in comparing the chicken nuggets to
It was much harder to eat 80 nuggets at Burger King than it was at McDonald's.
God, I'm
Yeah,
getting-
but
Let's
I
be
found-
honest.
I got sicker at Burger King, but I found that the McDonald's ones they got blander, which is probably why I didn't get as
For the
sick.
better. Yeah,
God,
it was for the
I'm
better.
getting Burger King anime meme flashbacks
All
already.
right, so do we want to move on to the animation, art, music, and that stuff
Yes.
before we start talking about In-N-Out and Chick-fil-A?
Yeah, that's fair. So
Come on!
yeah, okay. It's Naruto is definitely of its time in terms of like the art style and the animation. I mean, its age shows when you watch it. Like for me, I don't really notice it because, like I said, it's something that I grew up with and I love the animation, but it didn't necessarily age well compared to more recent shonen and like fighting related stuff. So I see that it's like not.
I actually think Naruto aged pretty well in the animation department. There was never a moment where like they were clearly reusing animation to save budget. The aspect's different, but I could care less about aspect. And obviously, it's not going to have like the crazy stuff that they can do now with modern techniques. But
I kind of like that though. You know, it's of a certain era, and it like brings you back to like a certain era. Like a One Piece, Bleach, Dragon Ball Z. I mean, it is the shonen big five, you know, of the like 2000s.
Question for you though, Seki, because I know you've also read some of the Naruto manga.
I have read all of the Naruto manga
Haha. All
and
right.
Naruto Shippuden.
All right. So, how similar would you say they are in comparison to art style?
You know what? Art style, I'd say, is 1-to-1 dead on. Like, it's definitely the exact same facial shapes, drawings, like movement styles. That's all exactly the same. Like, the characters look in the manga like they do in the anime and vice versa.
Okay.
You know, Naruto's face looks the same. Kakashi's face looks the same. I think the only difference is maybe the general faces for like the younger characters and the girls are slightly more balanced in terms of where the eyes are placed. Like they're in a more natural position. In the manga, the artist has a habit of putting the eyes a little bit lower and it looks a little odd. But the overall faces and all the character designs are identical.
I see. Well, that's kind of interesting, actually. But I think this is more so, now that you mentioned that, more so just like a problem of the transition between manga and anime as art forms. Because what translates into a manga doesn't always necessarily translate so well into an anime. And I think that's where my, not really dislike, but notice of like the art style comes into in terms of how it looks, because it looks like it's dated, at least from my perspective, but it may not be dated for when it was made. So.
No, it's not dated for when it's made, but I do want to refer back to like the last episode we recorded. We talked about how like certain genres have like a look, like when you're watching like a rom-com. Nowadays, like recent rom-coms that come out, they all have the exact same art style, right? Regardless of what's in the manga, because it's kind of easier to produce and make, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I'm talking about? This is from an era where they didn't really do that so much. So in the early 2000s, you find a lot more diversity even inside of like a single genre, I'd say, because they wanted to maintain a lot of the styles from manga to anime to differentiate it, which is why you see like One Piece, Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, Bleach, Fairy Tail. Those are 5 very different art styles, I'd say, and the animes are pretty much one-to-one with the mangas on being individual and unique.
And I think this goes up to the point essentially where, like, when, say, you get the transition from regular Naruto to Naruto Shippuden, where the art style itself also gets an upgrade or whatever, like the
A little. I'd say that really the only difference for me, and this is, talking about Shippuden because I've seen it all, is that obviously it's like instead of being done in 480, it's done in like 1080p, right? Like obviously on screen you can see that.
right.
But the art style is once again one-to-one with the manga.
That might also actually be a slight problem because because that makes a bit more sense. If the art was designed for you to look at it on like a CRT television or something like that, it probably looks a bit less worse than it does when you look at it on like a 1080p TV nowadays, or even a 4K TV for that matter.
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure.
I made a
Ooh,
comment
yeah.
to Nick Knack about it when I was watching it. I was like, the resolution didn't weather the years very well.
Yeah.
Well, that's just the case of a lot of, like, even Katekyo has that problem, I found.
Yeah, which is fair, but I think one of the things I really do like about Naruto, and just in general, anime, not even just shonen, but even in stuff like, let's say, Oran and Fruits Basket and Get Backers and other related stuff, is stuff that came out in the 90s and 2000s just generally tends to try to maintain its manga art into the anime rather than going with like a more generic like body and face shapes, and it really differentiates shows from one another and makes it easy to remember.
Yeah, I think that's where you get, like, one thing I'll say is, and I don't know if this was even like a practice back then, but something that differentiates Naruto from, say, a modern show is a lot of fight scenes in modern show rely heavily on Sakuga. That's when like the line, like you start seeing the lines and the animation becomes extremely fluid compared to normal. I didn't see that in Naruto at all, which I don't think is a problem because that's obviously going to look better the newer you get, but I didn't see that really attempted, and that might be of the time, and I don't blame it for that.
Yeah, and I think another thing to maintain is we have to remember this no matter what anime we're looking at is when it came out.
Yeah.
This is an older show, let's be honest. So it's not going to look exactly like as high quality as, say, what's that really popular one that you guys like?
Demon Slayer?
Shit. Yeah, that one. Oh god, I'm going to be roasted for that.
Haha.
Oh, oh boy.
Haha.
You're cool.
Brain
Everybody
fart.
knows you're an anime boomer.
Yeah, brain fart. But that's what I mean. Like, if you put the two of them like one next to the other, they're going to look very different in terms of resolution and like quality, just because they're done in two different ways at two different times.
Yeah, it's very obvious. I mean, again, I can't fault the anime for any of that, and I actually didn't think it looked that bad at all for the time it was produced. Like, anime that came later, like Fairy Tail, had much worse production, in my opinion, where they used a lot of animation.
Okay, but like, I mean, at the same time, like,
I forgive resolution more easily than I forgive reused animation.
Yeah, and I go the other way. It's harder for me to forgive resolution because I've become a spoiled little bitch with my 1080p.
Just wait until we watch Ron. Just wait until we watch Ranma.
Oh god.
So, any opinions on the music?
Well,
Okay.
Actually, I
I've
want to
actually
talk with Realm right now about something. It's about
Yes.
the color palette that you actually saw in the animation right there.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't have anything that really popped out. Did you notice that as well? It kind of all seemed like it was meshed
It wasn't. It kind of did, honestly. Like, even with Naruto's like bright orange vest, it felt like even like the dirt roads in the town that they're in. It's blanking my mind right now.
Konoha.
Yeah, Konoha. Like, but even that was like also pretty it blended his outfit almost together for me.
You know what? I do have a comment towards that, right? Is that so each of the villages is a ninja village, right? The big ones that we see.
Yes.
And you'll
Yeah.
notice that, like, especially in the other villages, like Village Hidden in the Mist or Village Hidden in the Sand, they all work on essentially a single color palette with slight variations. And most of the background characters or like higher ranked ninja, their clothing is generally supposed to blend in, and then their hair or face sticks out, if anything. And then Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura are supposed to stick out in pink and dark blue and orange slightly more. But the rest of the characters are supposed to be a little muted because they're ninja and it's like camouflage gear for the land that they're in.
Yeah.
Like that's what they call it.
That makes sense. But I'm gonna say this right now: orange, pink, really? Ninjas? No.
Yeah.
That's
no.
okay. Yeah, that's a big problem. Like pink hair on a ninja.
Also, Sakura's useless.
Yes.
So if I may make
She
a
very
comment,
much
I
is.
had no issues with the color.
Oh my god! You shut up! You shut up about color! You shut up!
The colorblind one here.
Yeah, you don't get to have a color opinion. But Vorn, does it make a little bit more sense to you if you think about it that way? Like
Yeah,
just a little.
slightly.
Yeah, because I think I am going to be resubmitting this relatively soon, and you will see the next section, and
Oh,
we will
obviously.
we'll meet some people from the Sand Village, and you'll notice that like Sand Village ninjas, like they all wear like sand-colored armor and stuff, and it really blends into like the dirt and the sand.
This is giving me flashbacks to the Sand People of Star Wars.
I don't
Oh,
like
God.
sand. It's coarse and rough, and it gets
It
everywhere.
gets everywhere.
Not like you.
Everywhere you don't want to go, it'll go.
Okay, but I mean, leaving aside color palette, unless we have something else to say about it.
I think we should move on
Not
to this.
really.
Then, yeah, you
So I've got-
mentioned sound and stuff, and I
I've got
had that
up-
discussion with Nick Knack earlier this week.
I have opinions on the
I
sound.
actually, so I love the opening songs and ending songs for all of
I-
Naruto. Period.
I don't mind them.
But I also love the cheesy sound effect of like, with like the drums. I love that for comedic effect. It's like the wah in Fairy Tale.
And I hate that too. I can't stand the sound design.
I
For
love
Yeah,
it.
the sound
I
design
love
is
it.
dated and yeah.
Well,
Well,
no.
okay, saying that it's dated isn't. I mean, the whole show is dated at this point. It's an
Yeah.
old anime.
Okay, but being dated isn't an excuse for, like, in the middle of what should be a somewhat serious one.
Ew. I love that.
Or what was it during that first episode? I actually thought the first episode was okay. That first episode where like Naruto like shadow clones himself around whatever his name was, and I'm like,
Mizuki.
oh, they're gonna fight, and then it goes off screen like, oh, and then it starts going boink doink doink.
It's like it's great. I love it.
Okay, and this is not the show's fault at all. But whenever the sad boy Naruto music starts coming on, I can never take it seriously. That is entirely because I've seen it memed to death.
I was gonna
But
say that's your
still.
own fault.
But still, if that's the case for me, I imagine I can't be the only one.
I don't really particularly have an opinion on the sound in this show. It's there. It exists.
I don't know. I mean, I like the comedic touches like that because to me, especially the early parts of the show are very comedic, and I see them more as like a comedic kind of thing, and I actually genuinely enjoy when it breaks up more touching moments.
I more so what was it? I mean, I did find like humor occasionally in some of the parts, like for example when Naruto transformed into Sasuke to talk to Sakura or whatever. That was like one of the
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
and he had the bowel issues.
Yeah, he drinks spoiled milk, which
Yeah.
How did he not gag from the taste? Was my question.
Okay, so there's actually a little bit of background there related.
I don't want it. I don't even care. It's such a minor detail. I don't even care.
I mean, the background's not actually a minor detail, but okay.
Well, I mean, if this was like a different point that you're trying to make, then
yeah,
go ahead.
it's supposed to be a statement about his living conditions.
Yeah, that makes
is that
sense.
he can't get fresh food because the villagers hate him. So
that makes sense, but yeah.
Okay, but
I
the
don't
entire thing is played off for comedy, so you don't really catch
yes,
that.
that's
You
true.
hear the when that
Jesus,
happens.
fuck. Okay.
Was that a spit take?
That was almost a spit take.
I have thoughts on the milk section, but I'm gonna wait till we get to characters. First off, though, do we want to? Let's see. Did anyone besides Seki actually listen to the ED?
I did
No,
not bother. I did not
really
bother. I
that
skipped
well.
the ED every single time. I didn't even watch it once.
I-
I watched the opening once, and that was only to see what it was like. And then every subsequent time, I skipped it.
I will say, for the entirety of Naruto, I do genuinely like the 9 openings it has, and the first 4 are some of my favorites.
The opening was okay.
I more so, honestly, actually, more so than like the opening song, I more so liked the opening story that it told, essentially, like between the 3 of them as a group, between Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura, and how their relationship all developed, develops throughout the course of their story and time together. But more so, what I found weird was just them beating up random thugs.
Yeah.
With like your fucking like fat ass thugs, just
Yeah.
like they're there. You beat them. They don't have a name really. They're probably not even ninja.
Yeah, they're D-rank missions. They're not important.
Exactly, and it's just like why? Because it just I don't know.
It's them improving as a group.
It's
you know?
fodder. I hate it.
Well, that's what D-rank missions are. They're essentially, those things you have to do to level up that are really, really boring.
It just kind of like the fodder aspect of the thugs is what kind of just partially anyway makes the OP a little bit sour for me, because there's good bits in it that I see, and it's just kind of ruined for me by the fodder of the thugs, I guess.
It's fair. That'll be fixed by opening 2.
Thank God.
Well, do we want to move on to the themes in the storyline here?
Sure.
All right, I'll let Seki start this off.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say, of course, for the entire story, there's a couple of overarching themes for the entire show, having to do with like growing up, maturing, the battle between good and evil, and then like oppression, toleration, that kind of thing. But I mean, what you really get in like the first 11 episodes that we watched was, so Naruto's an orphan, no one takes care of him. Sasuke's also an orphan, but for different reasons, and people are really insensitive about it.
I think as far as growing up, though, I think that was pretty prevalent in the first 11 episodes.
Yeah.
I could catch it real easily.
Oh, yeah.
This entire thing isn't Naruto's story about becoming a ninja. It's a story of growing up.
Yeah.
And then also as a bit of contrast, you do have Sakura there who grew up with the whole family or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think there's a really good example of that is when she's making a comment about how the reason why Naruto is so immature and stupid is because his parents didn't raise him right, and she's saying it to Sasuke, who also hasn't had parents since he was like 6, and they're like 12,
Yeah.
And that's very insensitive, and she should know. So the massacre of Sasuke's family is not a village secret, so like everyone knows. She just spoke insensitively because Sakura doesn't have that, hidden evil or like something terrible in her backstory. Because the thing is, she is a vapid, 12-year-old girl.
Exactly, and this is reflected in her monologues.
But I actually like inner Sakura, but I will say that like Sakura almost, I'll say, I think Sakura makes the biggest change over the course of Naruto and Naruto Shippuden. If you go from where they started to where they ended, Sakura does make like a very large change in like levels of maturity and consideration. But the story follows Naruto, and he also makes an incredibly large change between the beginning and end.
Absolutely, and more so because I've spoiled myself because because even though it's canon, I still absolutely adore Naruto and Hinata as a pairing.
Which is, I mean, that's fair.
Yeah.
By the way, I kind of wanted to touch on this in the animation, but I figured it was better to touch on it in themes.
Mhm.
That part where they're running up the tree, was it just me, or and I had to rewind when I kind of saw this, when they like the chakra, like you see the wave come out of their feet.
Mhm.
I swear to God, it was like Sasuke's went farther, Naruto's didn't go very far at all, but it was thicker and but it was kind of unstable. So
Yeah.
was Sasuke's, and Sakura's was like perfectly rounded.
Yeah, so that is actually incredibly important because of the three, right? Sasuke and Naruto are more kind of powerhouses. They have like a lot of power. Naruto can't really
Mhm.
control his at all, and Sasuke has a lot of power, but he tends to kind of throw it all out there to make like a big statement. While Sakura has a very small amount of chakra in comparison to each of them, something like it says she has something like a tenth of Sasuke's chakra, and Sasuke has like a tenth of Naruto's at most, you know? And so Sakura actually has perfect chakra control. She uses only as much as she needs because she can't afford to use more than that. She can't use more because she won't have any left if she does.
Yeah, I mean, I actually really thoroughly like appreciated that little animation touch, and I caught that. I just kind of caught that. I was like, and I rewinded it, and it was a fun little touch. I actually like that.
Yeah, I think Naruto has an element of those little things that are added in sometimes that like kind of relate to larger things that can be really interesting, and that's one of them because it really shows you the difference between the way that the three of them use power. Because Naruto just makes 1,000 shadow clones. Sasuke just spits out great fireball, you know? But Sakura can't do either of those things. Like, she's not physically capable of either. Like, even if she trained, she's not capable.
Okay, now that I've praised an element of the theming in the storyline, I'm gonna bash an element of the theming in the storyline. I am so sorry, Seki.
I mean, depends on the element. I told you, there's some things that, you know, I also find mediocre or not the best.
I hate the power system.
Which is fair. You've only seen 11 episodes.
But I mean, like, in like, it's called ninjutsu, and my brother summed it up to me like this: they make a bunch of hand signs and then do magic. That one fight scene where they do the hand signs and then make water dragon, that is not ninjutsu at all.
And
It feels
It's
like
chakra
ninjas are just there 'cause
manipulation.
ninjas are cool.
It's energy manipulation, though.
And-
That's essentially what
and
it is.
knick-knack. If you were paying attention, like to what they were saying, they were literally just saying the names in Japanese of different animals.
Those are the names of the signs that they were making. Like, those signs with your hands actually mean different animals. Like, that's
And-
actually a thing.
And then they make a dragon.
And then the other thing was, it felt like a lot of like the fights, and this is more part of the theming as well in the storyline. I find it's the fight would start out. It would start out as a fight, a normal fight, but then like there'd be a killing blow just for it to be a clone, and it's actually a block of wood the entire time. It happens so often. It was kind of like,
Yeah, the substitution jutsu. It's so useful.
it's a cop out.
I mean, a lot of things are in shonen.
It's like an especially blatant one, like not even trying to hide it.
Yeah.
Because until they decide to explain to you what happened exactly, you will never know. You will never know. Like, you can't see it.
Yeah, you don't see it happening. So
Don't
to
see
you-
it happen, so you can't predict it really.
Yeah. Like, you assume that, like, oh, that person's dead, and then it's a log.
See, but the problem is, it was used so often. I never at any point assumed that person was dead. And the first time they really used it during the that little exam with what's his name, the sensei, Kakashi and the like Naruto
God, you
Sasuke,
people.
when Sasuke threw the kunai at Kakashi and it hit him,
Yeah.
it's the exam arc. They're not actually gonna kill him or maim him at that.
Yeah.
So it wasn't believable then that they didn't do anything, and then when they did it later, it's kind of like, okay, I'm expecting this now.
But okay, but the way I see it during the exam, right, is that Kakashi's using it as a psychological tool during the exam, because the Sasuke can't see that he's used the substitution jutsu, right? So Sasuke thinks that this dude is so weak, right, and it's going to be so easy for him. Like it psychs him up, makes him like think less of the teacher and underestimate him. And that's exactly what Kakashi wants. Kakashi wants Sasuke to be arrogant and overestimate him so that he can destroy him much easier.
And that makes sense. If
Yeah.
it stopped there, I would have no problem with it. But then it gets used like 3 times during the fight with Zabuza.
Yeah.
Vorn, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, like, you know how they always pose like a problem and like it kind of always tied to society? The solutions they kind of like provided or for the show was kind of meh.
Like, can you give a specific example? Because I'm kind
Yeah.
of unclear. I'm clear on what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't get what you mean.
I kind of understand, but go ahead and give the example.
I'm trying to think of a way to actually explain to you guys right now. So, goddamn, let me think of an exact way. Oh yeah, during like the pass or fail episode.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the exam episode.
Yeah, the exam.
Like, it's the problem is they don't work together and that they will fail because they don't work together.
But they're not told that they have to work together.
Yeah,
They're
I know.
told that only 2 people will pass.
Yeah, no, like that's fine with that. I understand because that's supposed to be their problem. They have to think of a solution, but kind of how they reach that solution is, I don't.
See,
It kind of feels a little
Okay.
bit too easy and wishy-washy.
do you mean when they finally figure out that they should work together, or when they're not working together?
When
think-
they find out, pretty much.
I
Okay,
think he
so-
means like when they pass because they decided to break the rules and feed Naruto.
Oh shit, man! You know what? I want to make an argument against that, right? Because I know that there's a very, very intensely specific reason for that, but it's integral to Kakashi's character arc, and it's not fair of me to spoil it right now.
I've also just got to say, if it's very, very, very specific, that does kind of present problems with the narrative. Like, if I wanted to solve every last problem with Fate, I could give you guys a 3-hour-long explanation based off the lore.
I know.
That does
Okay,
nothing-
well, no, but that's not what I'm saying, Knick Knack. I'm not saying that like I could explain away every problem. I'm just saying that like, so that's Kakashi's solution, right? But what you have to realize is this is not the same test that every team gets. Every instructor assigns their own team based on what they want to see in a team in terms of qualities. They tell us that later. So each sensei has their own idea of what they want to see in the people they're teaching, and this is a very like intensely like important part of Kakashi's character arc, is that this is the test he assigns. And so it's not fair of me to spoil it right now. And granted, there are things that are wrong with the theming and stuff like that, but it's not a universal thing. This is specifically Kakashi, and it relates to something later.
Also, Knick Knack, I know you absolutely could explain what you think is wrong with Fate and how you think it could be fixed.
I know, and I won't.
I wouldn't go so far in Naruto. I will not say that I could explain away all the issues in any of my favorite series, like Fairy Tail or Naruto or One Piece, but I will say that in a case like this, and I'm just kind of speaking specifically to Vorn, in a case like this, I do know that there's a legitimate, like, important reason for this that actually makes a lot of sense. And
Yeah,
I don't want to spoil it for you right now, so I understand why you don't see it as making sense. Like, I get it. I get that it doesn't make sense right now.
no, I figured out that would come out later, but I only have this much to go on. I have to call it
Exactly.
wishy-washy and kind of a little easy.
Yeah,
So,
just the way that he pops up and he's like, "You passed." Like it's very out of what we've seen of his character and like his opinions. I get it.
Right, and given that he has since failed every single other one of his student groups except this one.
And he gives the same test to every single one of them.
Yes.
Okay, but if in real life there was a teacher who never had a student that's ever passed their course, that wouldn't be a sign of a good teacher. That'd be a sign of a teacher who's not going to have their job much longer.
But Kakashi's not a good teacher. That's the point. Like, that's openly admitted by the Hokage. Kakashi is not a good teacher. Like, he's been assigned teams hoping that it could, like, make him into, like, less of the emotionless pervert that he essentially is at this point in the story. But he's not a good teacher. In fact, most of the older ninja are intensely, like, traumatized and have things wrong with them in their own ways. And not all of them are good teachers even when they're given a team.
Actually, I do want to make a correction to that statement. They're all perverts, so I think we have to stricken the pervert thing out.
I mean,
right now.
I-
Not all perverts. There are legitimately characters that don't give a shit about sex.
sexy jutsu is the answer.
I promise you they are not all perverts.
Okay, so
Well, from how much I've seen, they are.
I give you my word on my honor and my nindo that they are not all perverts.
in response to that, though, Seki, I say the fact that they keep Kakashi around is to the detriment of the students. Then, if every student is failed because he's such a bad teacher,
Once again, it relates to the same.
but if it's to the detriment of the students,
I
it's
know.
kind of like that's still terrible.
Yeah. But at the
Bad
same time,
management.
they also have very limited resources because you have to be a proper Jonin to take a team on, and you can't do it just after you've been made Jonin. So you have to have a lot of experience. So they do have a pretty limited pool of people who can take teams.
Because you can imagine of how many Jonin, because they have to take on such dangerous missions, the mortality rate of Jonin is very high.
Yeah, and Anbu can't take teams because their work is just too dangerous. Neither can torture and interrogation people or anything else. So it has to be, Jonin that are qualified but haven't gotten themselves killed or into like a specialized department. So they do have a pretty small, selection of what to choose from.
They're more they're just working with what they got. Basically.
Yeah, it's more that they're working with what they got, and you'll notice. So if you look at the like teams, and they talk about it later, is that basically the Hokage takes however many students are expected to graduate, and then you have to group them: 1 girl, 2 boys, and then like on Naruto's team, it's the lowest scoring, the highest scoring, and the highest scoring girl, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they have ways of working that out, and there are some formations that are set, and they try to put each team that's made with a specific teacher that would have some sort of insight into at least 1 or 2 of the students' specific needs or understand what they're going through. So, like, it's an open secret that Kakashi's assigned because he has a Sharingan, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Sasuke is an Uchiha. But there are, in some of the other teams, you also see this where a specific teacher is assigned because the team is supposed to develop for a specialty, or there's a certain person on the team that needs specific training from this one person. So it's almost a system that kind of caters to specific individuals and leaves the other ones out to dry.
Yeah.
Like, just out to hang dry.
Out to fend for themselves, basically, within their own team.
Exactly. You're either someone valuable enough to get a specific instructor assigned to you for a reason, or you're a tag along to someone who's getting an instructor assigned for a specific reason.
Then I think that's more a flaw of the overall system as a whole.
Oh no, it is. It absolutely is. It is a flaw of the system.
Well,
I think that we've already gone a little bit into the characters. So why don't we get fully into the character segment, beginning with everyone's favorite competition,
Waifu Wars.
We're not syncing this up over
Waifu Wars.
Okay. Let's start with Lord Vorn. Did you have a specific waifu here?
Nobody.
Damn, is that 3 for 3 in terms of episodes with no waifus from Vorn?
I think so.
Yeah, it is. Well, me and Seki both share a waifu, and that's Kakashi-sensei.
See, but I don't know if I'd pick him for my waifu right now.
But, really? Really?
Okay,
Come
like,
on.
okay, in terms of like overall, out of like the whole show, I have like 8 or 9 characters that I intensely love, right? But if we're just talking about the first 12 episodes, Kakashi's great, but like, I love him, I do. But there are some other characters that I really like as well in the first 11 episodes.
Who exactly?
I actually like Inner Sakura a lot in the beginning of the show because that's actually when we see her most. She kind of ends up getting left behind as a character device after a little while, and I miss her in the later seasons. But I like her inner, right?
Okay.
I really like Shikamaru and Ino.
Yeah.
I like Iruka Sensei.
Iruka Sensei. Was that? I forget. That was
that was the teacher from the Ninja Academy.
Okay.
Who fought with him with Mizuki?
Yeah, I remember.
I mean, okay, for the first 11 episodes, I guess I'd say Kakashi overall. I mean, it's either that or Inner Sakura. So
I knew you'd come around. I knew you'd come around.
Talked myself into a waifu.
Mm-hmm. The correct choice. You've made a wise decision, Seki.
Yeah, but I also know a lot more about him than you do overall.
Oh, I know you do. I'm just saying.
What about you, Knick Knack?
My waifu.
Oh boy.
The fucking bridge. That was a sexy bridge.
Oh, I know, right? What a bridge.
I almost spoiled what it gets called. Oh shit.
Is it really that important though?
No, it's just it's a nice moment to watch in the anime happening.
Okay.
So I'm not going to say it out loud right now. It's a nice moment.
So for now, it's just known as Sexy Bridge Chan.
Yep, Sexy Bridge Chan.
Oh, I wonder if Truck-kun is going to drive over her at some point.
I promise you, he's not. She is not going to be violated that way. He is not entering her. I went there.
Yes, you did. All right.
I feel like Vorn is done with our shit.
Oh no, I've been actually helping out right now while you guys been talking around.
Oh, okay.
Helping out with what?
And my parents, of course.
Oh.
Oh, so that's why you've been so quiet this episode.
That's fair.
Well, also, I really don't got that much to say.
That is also fair. I understand.
Yeah.
It's okay, and I say this in the nicest possible way. 11 episodes of Naruto is not Naruto, right? 11 episodes is, oh, look at this dude in an orange jumpsuit. And I think this is a thing that a lot of what I would call the Shonen Big Five have as a general problem, is that you really have to like make an effort and like get more than a couple episodes in, right? Unlike a lot of like more recent shonen that are maybe shorter or have a quicker development scheme, like these were made to be long-running shows.
I wouldn't say that they're shorter. I'd say they just haven't gotten as far as these shows have got. I have a feeling they're going to get as long as those do.
It's more so just like I think it's more so.
Well, but you have like, for example, Dr. Stone is only like what, 25 episodes?
That's because it just came out. It was the first series.
But the manga's been running on for a while.
Yeah,
I know, but it's also in the development. Like Naruto just develops very slowly as a story.
And that's more so, I think, and that's also has to do with its era, because it was still coming from the era of long-running shonen.
One Piece, Bleach, Dragon Ball, Fairy Tail, Naruto, all these shows were...
Whereas in 2020, we're looking at Demon Slayer, a modern, very popular shonen, ending at around, like, less than 30 volumes.
Yeah, which is fair. I'm not saying that newer shows are bad because of it, and I'm not saying that older shows are bad for it. I'm just saying that the pacing... it's very different.
It's the difference in pacing, and I think it more so comes from the years of refinement of the shonen genre and other like qualities to it. Essentially, like even My Hero Academia, like it's quite long running for as it is.
Yeah,
it's already 4 seasons in.
Yeah.
With like more still to come. So,
Yeah, and I'm not saying that like, oh, none of those, like, My Hero's not going to get as long as Naruto. But I will say that in the amount of episodes that My Hero has had, far more things happen than in the same amount of episodes in Naruto.
exactly. That's
And
exactly.
I do legitimately hold problem with a lot of the anime from that era because like some of the best anime I've ever seen can have an open and closed story that's very memorable and like characters that I will remember forever within only 12 episodes.
And I
Meanwhile,
actually genuinely hate that.
meanwhile, Naruto 11 episodes, I feel like I've gotten absolutely nowhere, and I don't. Just on my own, I would never put in that amount of time and effort into watching that much because I could be doing so many other things, watching so many other shows, and get a lot more done a lot quicker.
And see, I feel exactly the opposite because I like the longer show. I like the kind of immersion of having so much to watch. I like the amount of backstory and little inane things. I like having this much to like watch over. And to me, it's more worth it because I'm investing more of my time. And therefore, you know, if it's good enough for me to like to hook me into investing this much time, it's more worth it to me. And I actually don't like 12 episode shows. And that's one of the places where me and Knick-Knack just differ. And it doesn't mean that one of us is wrong. It means that we're both right. We just have very different opinions and ways of watching shows.
So that's our thoughts, and we will continue to beat this drum. I think.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
I think we were talking about characters.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll see that fight between Seki and I more than enough. As time goes
You
on.
know what? It's not even a fight though, because I don't take issue with you preferring shorter shows, Knick-Knack.
This isn't really an argument. I
Yeah.
see it. It's more so just like a difference of opinion that always comes to the spotlight.
Yeah, and like I said, it's not, neither of us are wrong. We just like different ways of doing stuff. I mean, I'm the same way about TV shows, as I prefer things that are like super long and like complex, you know, stuff that drags.
Chinese
You know?
dramas.
Yeah. I'm just trying to make it clear that I'm not in any way condemning your love of like shorter shows. I just don't personally like them. I prefer the longer shows, which is why I'm still watching One Piece.
Fucking Chinese dramas!
Chinese dramas ain't got nothing on One Piece.
Ah, shit. Okay, Vorn, that was a very delayed response.
But it was
Holding
exactly
myself
right.
back.
Like I was
Second
poking.
finish.
I was poking for that like, reaction, and I was so disappointed when I didn't get it, and then I got it like minutes later.
Delayed gratification, the best type.
Haha.
But back to characters. So in terms of characters, I think first, I mean, I'd want to ask, is there any comment anyone has about individual characters or like overall character interaction?
I'm gonna beat the same drum again. Sakura
is useless.
He's useless as Aqua.
Yes. Oh my god.
Kakashi.
Yeah, Knick-Knack
I've
doesn't
already-
like Kakashi.
I've already expressed one of my reasons earlier was the teacher thing. The other reason I hate him is because, especially in the first few episodes after he's introduced, he steals the spotlight from the main character so much it feels like it gets in the way of any character development they could be having. It's just like, I'm gonna do this. Oh, you can't fight them. Kakashi, get in there. And I get they can't fight those guys, they're too powerful. But at the same time, they could have just not written that to have them fight those guys yet. I wish there was more time for them to develop as a team without having to like take the spotlight away from them and onto Kakashi.
Okay, this is actually where I kind of disagree with you, Knick-Knack, more so. But this is like less so. I can see the merit to your point, but more so, I think this is fine the way it was done.
Well, and Knick-Knack's going to get a lot of what he wants when it comes to the tuning exams, because those are Kakashi can't help them with those. He can't be there. He can't be a part of it.
Yeah.
So he's going to get a lot more of what he wants of like team development. But But at the moment, he is their sensei. He's in charge of them. They're in over their heads. He has to step in.
I mean, for crying out loud, they weren't even supposed to take this mission. They were supposed to take a D rank mission, but Naruto insisted, and the Hokage caved into the demands and gave them the C rank one, or a quote unquote C rank one,
which turned out to be actually about at the level of a B rank. I know.
Yeah. So I mean, I get it. I will say that I also find Sakura as a useless character at the moment. Once again, I feel like she makes some real progress coming into Shippuden, but then it's all lost because the author has admitted himself that he doesn't like writing female heroines because he doesn't think that the strong female characters he writes are good. He doesn't think he's capable of writing strong female characters, and so he chooses not to, and he has specifically said that.
I mean, given that there was only a few fight scenes where she was actually involved, I didn't mind her uselessness yet, and I actually thought just her presentation as a character was I actually liked it well enough, because I did think that I did like when she had that moment with the Naruto Sasuke and the Sasuke where she had to reflect on how terrible she's been treating Naruto. I loved that moment.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, I said earlier, she gets some really good development all throughout the first series of Naruto. In terms of maturity and the way she copes with things. But, in the end, she doesn't, she's not written into a strong character.
I think I know what you're saying, about also how you're sad that that her inner Sakura kind of character gets dropped later on. And I was going to say it's likely because of her character development and change throughout the course of the anime and in going into Shippuden.
Yeah. But at the moment, I like Inner. I like some of the decisions Sakura makes, but overall, to me, I just don't like her very much overall. I don't like Sasuke either, if that helps. I think he's a emo duck butt head.
He's an edgelord. He's an absolute edgelord.
I mean, he's had no real opportunity.
My dreams are to kill a certain man.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, if this were a D&D party, he's the guy who picks
He is human fighter champion, grizzled 40-year-old man
with a dark tragic backstory
and a two-handed longsword
and a questionable moral compass.
Yeah, he is a Monster Hunter longsword player with the He is basic bitch.
Okay, guys, are you ready to hear the greatest conspiracy?
Oh boy. Oh man.
Okay, so that episode. So Naruto shares a voice actress with none other than Lambo from Detective and Reborn. Also, there's that one episode with the cow. The moo is the last thing you hear in that episode. Coincidence? I think not.
Nick Nack is forming conspiracies inside of his psyche.
That moment made me want to uninstall Unlife because it brought back horrible flashbacks of Lambo from Reborn.
That was the first episode where I could actually recognize his voice as Lambo's voice, because of the subject matter.
Jesus, you too.
Did you move over? I know you wanted to watch the dub. Is that why you moved over to the dub, so that way you didn't have to hear?
I never moved over to the dub.
Oh.
I will say though, the Naruto dub is not bad. I watched the whole show both in sub and dub, and it's not bad.
Well, you got a bunch of subbers here, so
I can vouch for the dub on some dubs if I watch them and like them, but generally I don't watch the dubs first.
I watch the dubs.
I'm just saying, in terms of anime dubs, it's not a bad one.
So before we get too distracted, are there any other characters anyone wanted to comment?
I really like Iruka Sensei as a character.
I didn't see enough of him.
Yeah, didn't see really enough of him. He was good. He's good for what we saw of him, but didn't see enough of him overall to make much of a difference.
But I like his backstory because he became a teacher at a relatively young age, and he's not of the generation of people that fought during the Fox attack, right? He's of the generation that were kind of children at the time, and they lost parents, family, friends in the Fox attack, and so he lost his parents in the Fox attack, and they talk about that. And at the same time, he's still able to kind of overcome that and see Naruto as like a human being. And that's something that most of the people in the village can't do.
So
I like him.
I can see that. I can see that. That's fair. Okay, that's good enough for the explanation that we got.
Yeah, I mean, I figured he's a good character. We just don't see enough of him for me to really like get too attached to him yet.
Yeah, that's fair. We don't see a lot of, the side characters at the moment. And he's a main side character, but he's still a side character. So I get it.
So
there are a lot of side characters I can tell are clearly coming back, but then...
Oh, yeah.
But I'm not
side characters are like a big thing for Naruto, from what I can tell. Like side characters that you don't see for ages, suddenly they reappear. Oh, hey!
Yeah, it's also just like a massive cast in terms of like, especially in Shippuden, where all of a sudden most of the major side characters become assistant main characters.
From what I understand, it's a shonen thing, though. It's very much, even in modern shonen, those side characters will disappear for like 3 seasons at a time just to come back and be integral.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think I have any other specific characters that I have comments on.
This was actually a point I forgot to make about Sakura, but I'll just go ahead and make it now. She just stands there in most of the battles.
Yeah.
Doing nothing. And I think that was kind of the point of her character, more so just to like represent like how unprepared she is to actually...
Yeah, because she's book smart. She's not...
She's not...
physical.
She's not very physical. She
diets.
tenses up. She diets and she tenses up in like tense situations.
Yeah, because she is the smartest kunoichi by book smarts, but she's also not raised in a ninja family, so she doesn't have that advantage that a lot of the clan kids have of already being taught certain jutsu and certain chakra things that they can do and having like a family technique or specialty. She doesn't have that. All she has is books.
And to boot, she also has a pretty low amount
of
chakra. Tiny chakra to go along with it.
Would you guys like to move on to tropes? Because I actually have some things to say about that this time.
Yeah, I'll let you take the lead on that one.
I don't know how much of a lead I can take here, but I'll try.
I mean, bring something up that you didn't like, and I'll try to rebut it.
I actually liked this. But when I mean tropes, I mean like one of my an aspect of the show that I actually enjoyed was this. And this is an element of it being of its time. Is now that it's of its time, I can look back on it and like see where certain character tropes I've watched in more modern shonen come from. It's a real interesting it's like a genealogy for tropes.
Oh yeah, because this is I know I've said it like 4 times already, but when you kind of think about like the almost what I would call the original Big Five, this is one of them. Like I mean, those shonen that kind of defined the genre in the 2000s.
Like I bashed him to hell and back, but Kakashi, you see that like his same like hard ass teacher who's not exactly the most like traditionally socially responsible person directly in My Hero Academia. So it's like I can pick this trope. Oh, I see it here.
The kind of dumb main character.
Okay, but I feel like that's something that was lifted from previous shonen too.
Well, yeah, but vaguely dumb main character is a very shonen thing.
Yeah.
Just vaguely dumb. Like, they're smart in some sort of way. They have something they're good at, but they're pretty dumb overall.
How about the rules of 3?
Yeah, that too. Rules of 3. That Genin in 3 groups, 9 teams of Genin, 27 Genin that were graduated. It keeps going.
What would happen if Naruto didn't graduate and there was only 26 students?
Well, no. So here's the thing: is if there isn't an even number for teams, I think there was something about then the kids who aren't sorted onto a specific team either have to get individual mentors that are either assigned to them, or they go into like this backup kind of like ninja corps thing, or they have to repeat a year until they have team members.
That sucks.
Interesting. So you could, in theory, pass your stuff, but if there aren't enough students to pair you with, you get held back anyway.
Or you can pass all your exams right, and you're the one odd student, and you just have to run D ranks until another class graduates. and there's 2 more people free to be your teammates.
Oh.
Lose a character before the lose a member of your team before the tuning exams, you kind of just have to wait and find another team member. Either get one assigned to you that failed in a previous exam that's not part of your team, or wait for another one to graduate from the academy.
Okay, here's a trope that, like, just because Seki wanted me to find a trope to attack so she can defend it. Exposition dump, when they literally pull up the map and go like, this ninja clan and
love
this ninja
that.
clan, this ninja clan.
It's
It brings
background.
it brings the pace of the episode to the halt. They could have shown it, not told it, or introduced it more naturally.
Okay, that's fair.
It's absolutely fair. I do prefer the show don't tell when it comes to trying to explain abilities or whatever. But honestly, I was fine with the exposition dump in Naruto.
I also kind of like the. Sorry, go ahead.
Don't get me wrong. I don't like the exposition dump, but I didn't really care about it that it was there.
Okay, so I'll bring this up because I see something, it happens very similarly in Bleach, but sometimes when they're explaining, like when Sakura's explaining chakra, like going to the feet and moving around in chakra flow and balancing, right? Mm-hmm. You know how they bring up like the pictures on screen and they look like they're like hand drawn out of like a scroll or something?
Yeah.
Something kind of similar happens in Bleach when Rukia explains things to Ichigo. She like draws these little pictures that are like terrible and then explains them. And I actually really like that because I think it's both a comedic moment and a little bit more of a learning moment. Because in both of these shows, they have a lot of exposition and a lot of background, and I actually like it when they do that because to me it gives more for me to know about the world.
See, I didn't mind it during that section because it felt a lot more relevant than it did when the Ninja Clan exposition came on. Like, It felt more natural. The Ninja Clan exposition felt real unnatural because then you don't even find out that you don't see another ninja from another clan until much later, and they could have explained it then, and it would have been a little bit more natural.
I mean, well, okay, what do you mean ninja from another clan? Do you mean another ninja village?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where I was getting confused. You said clan, sorry. And the clans are the families inside of the villages. The villagers are the villages.
Sorry, I don't know my terminology in this at all.
That's fine. I was just thinking of a different thing when you said that because of it, so I was arguing something different. But so when they pulled out the map and they were like, this is the land of water, this is the land of fire, this is the land of air, these are the villages associated with that, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I didn't mind. I don't mind exposition. I always prefer they try to show don't tell. But if it's not if it's natural to the situation, it doesn't feel like it interrupts the scene. It's usually fine for me. But that specific one felt just so like there were better places to put it, not far afterward.
Okay, because I was gonna say I had a question. Like, how would you want them to like show another ninja village? Like, do you want to just like cut scene to another ninja village?
No, but like they explain it like, if I remember right, in the woods, leaving their own village.
Yeah.
Whereas it would have been much more natural to explain it after like Zabuza attack, like in that interim right after Zabuza attack, they could have explained it then, and it would have been like, oh, that's why there's another. I just thought the pacing of it was real off, and it didn't need to be that off.
Oh, so it's more about like where it was in the episode.
Where it was, and
in this case,
I do wish it was a little shorter. I feel like they could have condensed it a little, but in terms of
mean,
where it was placed and how much the length was, I feel like was the big issue with that one.
I mean, that's fair. I get that.
I mean, I don't know if this. Sorry, actually, you know what? You finish your point. I'll make mine afterwards.
I forgot what I was going to say.
No, sorry.
It was obviously unimportant.
Okay. If it was unimportant enough, then I don't feel so bad. All right. So, anyways, what I was going to say, this is less of a trope, more so just with shows that run long in general. The excessive amount of time spent on recapping what happened in the last episode.
Yeah, like if you cut out the opening, the ending, and the recaps in Naruto, you're down to like a 15-minute episode. You can power through them.
Exactly. I did that quite frequently. Absolutely.
Our next
Well,
show
it's
isn't much
like
better
the-
about the recaps either.
Yeah, no, I mean, and God, man, you know I get that realm because you know I'm with you on skip the recap, skip the opening, skip the ending,
Mhm.
unless I add and like watch it just like once occasionally. I get it. I hate it when shows do that. It does it in One Piece. It does it in Naruto. It did it in Bleach. It does it in Fairy Tail sometimes. It does it
It
in
did
other
it in-
shows I watch.
It did it in Fate.
It does it in Dragon Ball. One of the things I that was the thing. So did you notice that one of my favorite parts of the episode's beginning, right, is everyone's seen Dragon Ball, and you know how they do the, like Vegeta's quest for the Dragon Ball, like next time on Dragon Ball Z, and they have like the names read out like super theatrically.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of do that in Naruto, and I kind of love it. It is an era.
Oh,
It's like
an
the
era.
road to ninja.
All right, so I think we're running a bit long here, and I think
Yeah, that's
before I
fair.
start moving this to the end, did anyone have any final thoughts? Did anyone want to lead with final thoughts?
I have a final parting thought, and it's more of just kind of a statement and a warning, is that Naruto is 220 episodes. Shippuden is longer than that. The whole show combined is over 500 episodes, right? And, Naruto was made in the 2000s. It is paced much slower. Like, they get much less done in the same amount of episodes as a modern shonen would. And it's something you have to remember. And it's something that, maybe if you wanted to get into it, and you're getting stuck in a fight scene, watch the recaps, don't watch the fight scene, or find on the internet somewhere on YouTube where someone's, spliced together the entire fight scene so you don't have to watch all of the episodes. It's the same advice I give for Dragon Ball Z, and I think it's just something that if you really want to watch Naruto, right, if you're really into it, keep in mind that it is a lot longer and paced a lot slower. And maybe that's a warning for you to stay away from the show if you don't want to, deal with 220 episodes. Especially when the last 80 episodes is a lot of filler.
That's
It's just
lot
a
of
comment.
filler.
Like I'm not trying to convince you not to watch it, but I also want to make it clear this is a commitment of time and effort.
Well, I don't have any final thoughts. Knick-Knack, do you have any?
I mean, I don't hate the show at all. I thought it's not even in the lower bracket of the stuff we've seen. Not even a little bit. This is above shows I didn't like before. Like, I didn't like, obviously, Amagami SS and Date Alive. I didn't like,
And yet, ironically, you watched all 3 seasons of Date Alive.
hey, we had a lot of time due to someone taking forever to edit and post the video. But I'm not calling anyone out here. No, that person shall remain unnamed.
It was me. I'm sorry.
No.
I deserve all the shame!
Shame.
I'd say I even put this above shows that I was real middling on, like Yojo Senki and first half of Fate. Like, I definitely put this above those.
Okay.
But when I compare it to other shonen that I do watch, so I do watch my fair share of shonen, even if we haven't seen many of them on this yet.
But
It's
you
just
do
not the one that I'd go back to ever.
Yeah, you're more of a modern shonen.
Yeah.
Fair.
And I still appreciate it, though. I still appreciate
Yeah.
like, the show itself. And I do actually want to watch more on the grounds of this is where a lot of this came from.
Oh yeah,
More
no
out of
hate.
curiosity than out of actual, like,
Desire to watch Naruto.
yeah.
I mean, okay, so I will say as an addendum is that, I love Naruto, right? But I understand, like, I had us watch 11 episodes because I know that we have that plus or minus rule. I could have pushed you to watch up to 17, but I wanted to break up the Zabuza arc in a way that made sense. So I cut us an episode. I only gave us 11. It's such a long-running show, and I love it, but I completely understand if the 3 of you aren't, like, invested in it. And I understand if you don't get invested in it. I watched this at a different time in my life.
Yeah.
I was,
I mean,
like, 12.
If I had seen this even in my like sophomore year of high school, around the time I was getting into anime, I feel like I would have been just fine with this. I probably would have liked it. It probably would have been just as nostalgic as a lot of the shows from that time that I watched, but I just didn't.
which is fair. And like I said, I'm barely showing you a taste of it. I'm like showing you what 1/5 of the episodes, right? Or no, way less, 1/20th. 10 episodes out of 220.
See, it hurts me inside whenever I hear shonen.
100.
I only watch 50 episodes. Only 50 episodes? You barely started the show. No.
And I don't have a problem with that.
You see, I think I would have been more of a fan of these longer running shows if I had either A, bothered to keep up with them when I was still into anime in middle school or whatever. But I think just the appeal of shorter, more gratifying shows caught my attention and strayed me away from those longer running shows, because the more I realize, or like what some of these like shorter running shows have for them, which is their quick character development, the ability to just I don't know, like create scenes that are within like a shonen, that can be within a shonen, but feel a bit less. I don't know. I don't know the right word for this, but just
Villain of the week?
Yeah, not really. I'm more so talking about. I'm more specifically, but talking about comedy, less so.
I get what you mean, though. You know,
I'm more so rambling. That wasn't even a coherent point, but I'm trying.
No,
I'm trying to get through my exhaustion.
Yeah, but I get what you mean, Realm. Like you're, like I mean, like I said, Dr. Stone. I've started watching that, and it's super short. It's one season now, but it's also so much more happened, and it's really well done than happens in the first 25 episodes of Naruto. Like the first 25 episodes of Naruto has one major arc and fight scene in it. You know, so
Like I got through 150 episodes of One Piece, and it was just like,
it's dynamic.
I could watch instead of spending this time watching like 100 episodes of One Piece, I could instead finish 12 different anime of my choosing.
Yeah, which, like I said, I get. No shame, no hate. I mean, I don't like short shows, but I also have stuck with One Piece, and sometimes I regret that when episode 900 and something comes out.
I thought you guys were already on episode 1000 and above.
Chapters 1000 and above.
I will say this one thing, and I do feel for you a little bit, because the longer a show goes on, the harder it gets to recommend it, I find.
Yeah, like I genuinely feel bad recommending One Piece to anyone at this point, unless they're willing to watch the recap movies, because that way I can get them through like 300 or 400 episodes of arcs in like 2 or 3 movies that are like an hour and a half long.
Or if they're willing to just sit down and read the manga.
Yeah, like I could recommend reading One Piece. I could recommend watching the movies and then going from where the recap movies stop. But I can't, for example, to any of the 3 of you, genuinely find it in myself to recommend go start One Piece. It's not like you. I know, especially like Knick-Knack, you don't have the time to do, for example, what me or Realm Shifter or Vorn could do and power through 12, 15, 20 episodes a day if we wanted to.
Oh God, no!
Don't have that capability. Yeah, you just don't watch anime like that. But and you know, at the same time, like I started One Piece when it was already like, 400 or 500 episodes. But at that time, I started it over a summer break, and I watched like 10, 20, 30 episodes a day, depending on the day.
In summer break of high school or middle school, where you were made of time.
Yeah, so I can't in good conscience. I can't in good conscience recommend Naruto, Fairy Tail, One Piece, Bleach, Dragon Ball to anyone, particularly because they're just so long. If you don't have the interest, you're not gonna get into it. And if you haven't gotten into it already, because they're all pretty well known, then you're probably not going to. I'm gonna be honest. But I like Naruto. I like all those shows. I like the longer shows, and I think they're great. And I will always recommend them, even though it may not be seriously.
So, do we want to give ratings now?
Well, Vorn, do you have any thoughts?
I'll say it during the rating.
All right. Why don't we have Seki go last, since she's obviously going to have the most positive rating and a happy note?
Vorn, why don't you give us your rating first, since you're the one who's probably going to say the least?
There was nothing that really interested me. There's nothing that really drew me in. We're starting the story of this long anime, which, yes, it does do that. And we've seen that in Reborn. We've seen that in Fairy Tail.
Mm-hmm.
And it's... we just haven't seen enough. So it's very bland to me. There's nothing that draws me in. And I am not like Sekhmet in terms of liking long-term shows that drag out like this, as you've noticed. So this gets a 5 out of 10 because it's not crap, but it's also not good for me.
There are
So,
3
yeah.
ratings for Vorn. There are 9 and 10. There's 5, and then there's 1.
I mean, that is a better rating than I thought I was going to get out of Vorn, so... And it's valid. He makes a valid point. That's why I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. Realm Shifter?
This gets probably a 6 out of 10, and that's more so because I like some of the characters. But my general opinion of it overall is the setup is too slow. You're in this for the long haul.
Good God, everyone's rating it real low. I thought I was going to be shooting the low ball because I was going to give it a 7 out of 10, but clearly my standard's a little skewed compared to everyone else's. I mean, again, I don't dislike the show. I don't know that I actively like it, though. That's the thing. If I'm going by school grades, I'd give it a 7 out of 10. It passes. But if I'm going by the very harsh Mal ratings, I gotta give it 5.7.
I mean, honestly, on the whole, that's higher than I thought it was going to be. I'm going to be honest, like, Naruto is maybe one of the slowest developing shonens I've ever seen.
I mean, I can't actively call it bad. We've seen bad shows.
And that's true. And I think I maintain a hope that after I get you through Zabuza and the tuning exams, your ratings will change slightly and you'll like it a little bit more. Even if it's just for like the fact that it's a good story arcs. But I mean, for me, it's obviously like a 10 out of 10. I mean, I love it, but I'm also reflecting back on over 500 episodes of content, years of like watching it.
A lot of nostalgia.
Yeah, and also just an extensive knowledge of like what makes the characters tick. Like,
and I imagine your first exposure to Naruto wasn't in series release order.
What do you mean?
I mean, Naruto is the kind of show that would come on just TV in general, and you'd see a random episode of a cool
I started from episode 1.
Well,
back when I had a computer so old that Realm Shifter considers it computer archaeology. I had it hooked up to a screen in the living room. I couldn't move it. And I'd put on Naruto when I got home from school, and I would watch it until I had to go to bed every night till I finished the first 220 episodes.
Honestly, I'm more impressed that dinosaur could even play Naruto.
I was too, but it worked, and Naruto's actually, because it was at that point where I was just starting to get into anime, and I had really liked stuff like Oran and stuff like previously, and somebody recommended me Naruto, and I was just like, okay, I'll watch it. Not realizing it was 220 episodes and then having to keep my promise.
Well, guys, here's where we hit an interesting point. This is where we normally do the hat, but the next show's kind of predetermined. That would be Fate. Now, do we want to announce the episode here for 2 down the line, or do we want to wait till Fate and then we'll announce after Fate we'll announce the next one there, and then the next one after that, in the episode after that?
I think let's go ahead and pull now, since we're recording these on the same day. It doesn't really matter.
Okay,
so we'll just go ahead and pull now.
For the record, this is not the next submission. This is the submission after that.
Yeah, this is going to be coming out after Fate, which is our next episode.
Realm! Bring in the missile!
Yay!
You know what? I'm really hoping that someday we graduate to just tacking all these names up on a dartboard and throwing... Because honestly, yes. All right, so the first show we're gonna watch is Haikyuu.
Oh, good for
Okay.
you.
And-
I've seen a few episodes of that. Well, let's not pull the next one till after Fate, unless you've already pulled
Okay.
it. Then don't tell us.
I haven't already pulled it. So Haikyuu will be our next show after Fate. I am
Good.
really excited for that.
I watched a few episodes of that with you. I didn't mind it. I thought it was okay.
I also genuinely love the opening with every part
Okay,
of me.
guys, hold on. We have to end the episode, then we can start talking about this because you're going to be spoiling it
Okay,
for
yeah,
us.
we're already talking about Haikyuu.
All
anyway.
right.
I get
Remember, try harder, everybody.
Yeah.
All right.
Can you stop the recording?
Intermission time.
Yeah, I'm stopping
Time,
it.
time
Okay.
to stop.
Okay.